Hey everyone, this is Christopher Donnell here at Urbana United Methodist Church, and it's Monday morning, meaning it's time for another Motivational Monday. And I'm here with my friend Mike McKenzie, and you may hear some little footsteps and little toys clanking in the background, and his daughter Lily, who's also here, who is a much part of Michael's life as much as the other three kids that you have. So who are you, Mike? Where are you from? Who's your family?
Yeah, name's Mike McKenzie. I am the pastor at the Urbana Nazarene Church across town there. I've been married for 19 years.
Nice.
To my wife Erin, and she is the school nurse at the high school.
Nice.
I have 4 kids. My oldest is in college, a freshman at Mount Vernon Nazarene University. My daughter Alexis is 16. Landon is 10, and Lily here is 3.
Awesome. Toddlers, they are
awesome.
I saw a John Acuff post the other day. It said, I will never tell the parent of a toddler that time goes by fast, because they're actually like 96-hour days. Yeah. And if you hear a toddler that's quiet, it means they're testing the perimeter of the fences like a velociraptor against an electric fence, right? Somewhere they're scheming to do something wild. But then, as you know, with your other kids, that time does go by fast.
Oh, man, yes, it does.
But
very fast.
3-year-olds, not so much. Seniors in college, or in high school and in college, seem to go by every day. Yeah. So, Mike, I've known you for a long time, man.
Yes.
I had Kathy Stauffer on this Monday, Motivational Monday before, and I mentioned on there the first time I ever met you all was actually, this was my office behind this wall right here in the basement of the Methodist Church. And I was here for maybe a week, and I was working in my dungeon in there, and all of a sudden, Mike and Kathy bust through the doors with poppers and like little firework poppers and shoot confetti everywhere, and they're like, "Wow, welcome to Urbana," and like that made such an impact on me, knowing that people cared that much to welcome somebody new, because that's not always the case in churches. We're not always friendly, and we're not always excited to celebrate and support each other, and that really set the tone and precedent, I think, for my ministry, just being welcomed. I thought that was really cool. So that was a long time ago.
It was very unthought through. We just kind of grabbed them and we was like, let's go do it. And it's funny because we did it and then we just left.
Yeah, you did.
I think we came back the next day or something like that. It was something crazy. I was like, yeah, it's fun. It was fun. So yeah, we had some fun back then.
We did, and you've gone through a journey through ministry, different churches. You were at the Nazarene Church as a youth pastor, and then
absolutely, yeah. So in 2009, right before you came in here, right? I transitioned out of, I worked at Ohio State Medical Center, transitioned into ministry to youth pastor there, and then in 2013 we moved to Virginia to pastor in Northern Virginia, and we pastored there for 3 years, and then we moved down to Lynchburg, Virginia, and pastored there for 3 years, and then God brought us back home, and we're pastoring. Now the pastor of the church, that one I got saved in, 2 I became a minister in, and now I'm the pastor. It's like full circle. It's really cool.
That is super cool. When I heard that you were coming back, I was super excited, and knowing that this community is better with you in it.
Yeah, well,
seriously,
thanks. Thank you.
Seriously, it's good. But one thing we want to do on this Motivational Monday is encourage you. And so maybe what's been your motivation lately? What's God been speaking to you about, been showing you and talking to you about?
Yeah, I find myself in the midst of 2 things. One is unity, right? And I'm just fully committed to some sort of unity means between the churches in Urbana, right? And that realization comes to my mind every single day, right? I pray for that. I do whatever I can to be a part of that, and I think that things like this are a part of that. And supporting some new works like Jordan Millice and Urbana Grace. They had their first service this week, and just supporting things like that. The church is beautiful, right? And it's not the Nazarene Church, and it's not the Urbana United Methodist Church, right? It's the church, and I really think unity is the future of what the church holds. So, but also, that brings us to another point. I think that change is a very big piece of who we are right now. I think the church in particular is changing. The whole world's changing, but I think the church in particular is changing, and we don't want to miss what happened there. All the way back, right? When Jesus came as God's Messiah, the religious people of those days were looking for what they thought religion was, and they completely missed what Jesus was doing. And I really believe, that there's a time, not like God's Messiah coming, right? But I do believe there's a shift in culture, and there's a shift in the way the church can be effective and minister in our culture in context today.
Yeah, and I'm glad you went back to Jesus, because and that was roughly 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So a lot has changed in 2,000 years, right?
Absolutely.
So what do you think is it about this time that we're in, where we feel this anchor to the old, and resistance to the new? What is this battle going on between, the world's changing, I don't want it to.
Yeah.
The church is changing, I don't want to. I like the way it has been. What do you think that is?
Well, I think that there's been such a hyper active transition in our culture over the last 40 years, right? I mean, when you talk about technology and you talk about just things in general, that we see things a little bit differently, right? We see things back when we got saved, right? And that's okay. I think tradition and who we are is a big piece of what we are and how we move forward. But we see life how we experienced it. Yeah. And sometimes that doesn't lend to us seeing life how other people experience it.
Yeah.
And I think that really holds back our change. One, it drives this kind of siloed idea of churches, right? Where a lot of people pack into one place that kind of feel the same way. They have the same kind of experiences, and that is okay. I think we need to share our experiences with each other. But how do we cultivate that into all of our experiences? And move forward, understanding that we all experience God in a different way, and how do we use that experience to help other people experience God in their way?
I was thinking about that same thing, to the point, there's people in who has gotten saved in this church 40, 50, 30 years ago, and that was huge for them, or they grew up here and it was huge for them, and it's what they know, and it's so good. But there are new people coming who didn't come 30, 40, 50 years ago, who are now looking for a new experience to know Jesus, and to now give them their, and I'm sure it's the same in your church and all the churches across the world, that you have people who have established faith, and you have people who are just entering the faith, who had this deep experience, who are just now starting to, who this is now their tradition, this new thing. Right?
And it's just, I'll take it back to my own story, right? So I got saved in 2004. Okay, I was 24 years old at that point in time, and I didn't grow up going to church ever. I never went to church one time, right? Not a church service. I went to a church for a wedding, but that was one. That was it. That was my whole experience. And then when I was in college, I got exposed to some people that went to church, and I went, and it didn't happen. I didn't transition right away, but there was a moment in attending church and being with those people that kind of, I had an experience too, and I experienced God in a way that really impacted me, and I got saved in 2004. Okay, but even that, right? I find that I am drawn back to that moment. Right, into how I felt at that moment, into the things that were happening at that moment, that even I, even though that was a short time ago, shorter time ago, I still, things have changed so much since then. Sometimes I don't even understand what's going on. I really try to keep myself open to especially young people, because they're so, each generation is so different. It's so different, and I find that in my own kids. And my own kids help me to understand that a lot more. And, I have an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old, and man, they tell me, what's happening. And I think that exposure to me helps me to understand. But then I think about when I get older, right? And I think about when my kids are grown and gone, and I don't have that experience around me, because we all tend to gather around people that are just like us. How do I keep that spirit alive of really wanting these younger people to experience God in the way that I did, but maybe not exactly the way I did, but as powerful as what I did, and I struggle with how to be open to that all the time.
I think that's good, though. You're almost talking about a position. You're positioning yourself to be challenged.
Yes.
You're saying, man, I love this comfortable thing that I've grown in and known that was monumental to my faith development and now has deep meaning in my life, but I know that's not the end all be all.
Yes.
That's a hard statement.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys catch that, but that's a hard statement to make. To say something that has such deep, monumental meaning in your life, not being everything.
Yes.
And
Jesus tried to explain that, right, in his parables, where when he talked about, sewing the new patch on the old garments, or sewing or putting the new wine in old wineskins, right? Yeah. That it wasn't going to work. That the new isn't here to fix the old, right? But it's here to expand the old, to fulfill, like Jesus' new covenant obviously is different than this, right? But it was there to fulfill and to create. Yeah. Right, and there was something completely new that needed to happen, and when it comes to our generations and our cultures, we have to understand that the old wineskins that I hold dear, right, and they fit what my personality, and they fit my desires, and they fit my experience with God. They aren't elastic enough to fit the desires and the understandings of these new generations coming up. They aren't flexible enough to accommodate creative thinking and things that are just outside of anything that I can even think of in my own brain.
Yeah, and I think you're speaking to the idea of dreaming and creating and desiring new things. Not to throw away the old.
Yes. But
taking the old and what can we do? Rebirth. I mean, we are a resurrection people, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Are we?
We are, and we even the way that we see things now was birthed out of an incredible change, right, with Martin Luther and that Protestant Revolution, right? That is, that Reformation. I mean, we are the Reformation people, and to say that happens in one moment, but then it stops forever doesn't jive real well when we really think about it. A lot.
So something that comes to my mind is something I think it's a great topic that we're getting into, but I think fear, being afraid of change, actually halts creativity and dreaming. Fear does. Fear does. How could you ever dream of a new future or an exciting new thing if you're afraid?
Yeah. Well, I read a really interesting quote by William Barclay, of all people, right, a few weeks ago, and just in sermon preparation and things that I was doing. And he was talking about the church in general here, and he was just saying the church is so slow to move forward because we are so comfortable with the old. We're so comfortable with what we have, and that we are so comfortable with the good that we have that we will miss the excellent just because it's new. Just because it's new, because we are afraid of what that means, and we're I don't even know the right word, but we're more afraid because of the things that we hear, and because of the media we consume, and because and there's we go down a rabbit hole with that, but we become more afraid because there are people that think, and they are very loud, and they tell us what they think, and we don't really think for ourselves. We consume, but we don't create because of our fear of what's going to happen out of that.
That's really good. I think you hit the nail on the head. If the loudest voices in our head are telling us to hold on and don't grow and don't dream and be afraid. Hey, things are changing. We don't want that. And I think you don't do change for change's sake. I mean, hear us out. There's no, this is the same, we need to change it. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about God-inspired, Holy Spirit breathed.
Yes, absolutely.
Excitement.
And a passion to see people that don't know Jesus understand Jesus how they are. Because Jesus didn't come and meet with the tax collectors and meet with the prostitutes and meet with the thing with an expectation of what they were when he got there, right? He met them right where they were at, and I believe that he's doing the same thing today. And we've got two complete generations that are almost completely eliminated from the church today. And does that mean that they're all completely ungodly and non-believing people? It does not. But they are completely eliminated because of the church's inability to create.
Yeah.
And to innovate and to be a part of their culture.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really good. So what would you say then for the folks watching and listening today that would be helpful? Say hi, Lily.
Hey, Lily.
Helpful in this idea of change needs to happen.
Yes.
It's uncomfortable. It's scary. I love what I have.
Mm-hmm.
It works. I mean, how would we encourage people? What would you say to the folks listening today?
It's cliche, but I do believe that we need to surrender ourselves in prayer to this, and we need to lay down those things that we love the most.
Yeah.
In order for God to show us things that are better, to lay down the things that are good, so that God can show us the things that are better. If we're continually holding on to the things that we see as good, we will never see better.
Yeah.
We will never make that move, and we have to be really intentional about listening to what God has to say about these things in particular.
Yeah, that's really good. I think, and that's a hard word to say. Hey, I love this thing. It's been really good in my Christian walk and developing my faith. But how long does that last? I mean, because there's seasons for everything. Nothing lasts forever. It's not made to last forever. We like to think once we strike gold that it's going to keep striking every time.
Same spot.
Right. And that's just not true. I think for some reason it's harder with church to talk about these things because it's our spiritual. It's like our spiritual heritage is attached to it, right?
Yes. Well, what it comes down to is discourse.
Yeah.
Right. And talking about the things that matter to us, right? And if we are 18 or 19 years old, we need to have conversations with people that are 50 and 60, 70 and 80 years old, and so that we can understand the basic biblical truth that's behind all these things.
Yeah.
But the way that we tackle them could be completely different.
Yeah.
And we just conversations and relationships will drive change in the church and abroad, right? Everywhere, right? If we're able to have conversations in a way that is effective and where we can truly listen, it will help to drive this creative bubble that really needs to move through the people of God.
Yeah. So I think we'll end with this. If you're watching today and you heard this conversation, maybe ask yourself this week, what has been really good in your life?
Yeah.
And then vision cast, how could it be excellent?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And then imagine that for your church. And I know there's a lot of different people from a lot of different churches that watch this, even in Champaign County. I mean, Mike hit on the unity thing. Take that and come together with some fresh insight on what God wants to do in and through our community.
Yes.
Because it's not going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
There'll be some things that are similar, and it'll always be something similar. Because we can't have too much change, or we would not know who we are either.
Yeah.
But we are in an ever-growing process of seasons and changing. And again, thank God that he changed to an extent. I mean, that's kind of a weird word, but I mean, we had the Old Testament, and animal sacrifices were the way to go. Yeah. And then he sent Jesus. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a different. I mean, that was always his game plan, but.
Yes.
Aren't we thankful that he did that? Because if we just, if it was always the former, we would never have the awesome new thing of the new life that Jesus has given us.
Well, I think we just can't lose focus that we have the Bible, right? And the Bible shows us all things pertain to salvation and all things that pertain to living godly lives.
Yeah.
Right? The Bible shows us all those things, but it's not an operator's manual of how we act today.
Yeah.
And it is a basis of what we do and how we create our operator's manual today. And God has called each and every one of us to reach different people, right? And our desires and our character and who we are, it draws us to different types of people, right? So not one person is going to reach every single person,
right?
But when we're so closed off to the things that we desire, that we really love, and the experiences that we had, even though they're beautiful, it doesn't allow us to move into God's space for us to reach people that need to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ.
That's good. So what new thing is God stirring in you and in your church? Maybe ask that question. Go to prayer, like as Mike mentioned. Take it and pray on it and hold it and walk with it, because there is a new thing there.
Yes,
there is. Sometimes we have to unpack it and uncover it and let it rise within us to truly grasp it and run with it. But it's there. So thanks, Mike, for sitting down and encouraging us today. And
thanks for having me, Christopher.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Yeah, it's been good. So thanks again for tuning in. Hopefully you feel encouraged. Ask what's new. Dream. Look at your fears and maybe ask what's good, but what can be excellent as well. And we'll see you next week. We love you. We're praying for you. And take care.